Okay, so thank you all for coming out. As you said, I'm Kristen Wolford. I'm a local artist here from Atlanta, born here, raised here, and what you guys are seeing is a new style, honestly, that I just developed within the last year of being in this residency program. I originally was working in documentary filmmaking, a little bit of fiction, and during my residency, I had time to really explore and just kind of learn a little bit more about myself and the messaging I want to communicate. So all of my work does have kind of a spine, if you will, of documentary. All four of the pieces that you see, like these two, for instance, especially, are really focused on place. This is Edmonds Bridge, which is a bridge that's, I don't know if famous is the right word, but notorious, if you will, for Bloody Sunday in Alabama. If you aren't familiar with that history, check out the movie Selma, which will lay it all out for you. But long story short, during the Civil Rights era, around when the Voting Act got passed, there was still a lot of tension in Alabama about African Americans being able to actually vote and enforcing the law to let them vote. A huge protest or march, if you will, took place on this bridge, and it turned bloody. A lot of the local citizens, police officers, government officials, all those other people were kind of like okay with it all happening, a lot of violence, a lot of deaths. And the name of the bridge itself is actually the name of a Confederate general and KKK grandmaster wizard. So me and Tala Moja was featured in both these pieces modeling. We decided to go over there. During the 100-year anniversary, there was kind of a big move for a lot of African Americans to go to that bridge and actually walk across it as a way of kind of reclaiming the narrative. And we wanted to take that a step further. So we went there. This first collage over here, she's walking across the bridge, kind of walking away, which is what most people are doing, and I have her actually coming back, being more empowered. That's kind of what I'm going for. So on this one, I'm exploring a lot of color. There's also a sound element. If you put the headphones on, the flashing that you're seeing is actually in sync with the beat of the hip-hop songs. And the same thing on this one. And then more layers that are being added on this piece. In collaboration with another Georgia artist, Kevin Cullen. He did the actual painting that you see of the men that are walking forward. It's like MLK, Senator John Lewis, like a couple of iconic civil rights icons, and I wanted to depict her walking with them, as well as the names that you're seeing flashing on the screen are people that she feels, walks with her every day, gives her the strength and the power to keep going. Her as a person, she's a social justice advocate in a number of different ways, from child advocacy to sexual abuse prevention, all kinds of different things. So she's a very important figure as well in this piece. And I really wanted to emphasize, so that not just men were typically put in the forefront of these civil rights movements that we have in our country. We wanted to uplift a woman, all the women that inspire her as well. So both these pieces are kind of, they work hand in hand with each other. Like I said, one walking away, one walking towards back. And just the way that she's modeling, her attitude, everything. It's kind of like we don't only have to think about this bridge as a place of death, but it can actually be a place of life and a source of inspiration in that way. So that's these two pieces. This piece over here, through the residency program, Creators Project, I was actually able to collaborate with another residency program that's focused on music called 1B. And they kind of jokingly describe themselves as like the UN for musicians. Like they get musicians from across the world, put them all in a program for a couple of weeks, and they just make a ton of music. And so they commissioned me to come up with a visual piece related to human ecology in some way, however I wanted to interpret that. And this is what I ended up making. And then after I made the piece itself, they went back and just scored it and gave it an original composition to go along with it. So that's something else that you can listen to at some point if you want. This piece, like I said, the prompt is human ecology, and all of my work is rooted in Black liberation and highlighting Black stories that maybe people don't know about, or they don't want to be confronted with, or whatever. I'm all about archiving history, but also repurposing and retelling it in a way that centers Blackness. And so when they told me human ecology, the first thing I thought about was slavery and the relationship to capitalism, and I just kind of went from there. So the piece starts off, this is actually the beginning right here. I wanted to take a visual that to me felt like it was beautiful, but you can't really tell what it is per se. It's kind of abstract, but it's still something that felt beautiful to me. I wanted to show that first, and then build on top of that. A lot of what happened with slavery in our country, the history, is all rooted in colonization. And so colonization has a lot to do with where that colonizing force is coming in. They're the one who gets to dictate things like standard of beauty or power or all these different things, what's valued and what's not. So I had that first image that was very beautiful, and then I came into what was arguably what everybody would associate as like, you can all agree it's a very beautiful beach and waves and sand and all that. To try to again suggest about this notion of colonization and losing control of what things look like. From there, started getting some glitches to get across the idea that it's something that's beautiful, but something's not quite right. Things are kind of going astray. And that's just kind of the beginning of the waves of colonization really spreading across the world, specifically here in the United States, but it's really a global thing. I had, from that wave, that first wave, and from there I had collaged in the crossing of the Delaware, which is a pretty famous American painting, which to me always kind of was like the iconic symbol of colonization and conquering foreign lands. So I went definitely put that in this piece. And then we have down towards the bottom from the Gullah Geechee culture, which is a culture that's relatively untouched from being brought over to this country. Even all the way up until now, they were kind of isolated on the coast in South Carolina and Georgia. They've been able to maintain their culture even to today, but they're currently under attack and being colonized. Basically, they're a bunch of developers that want to move in and build beach resorts on their land with no regard for historical context or anything. So it's like another wave of colonization that they're currently under attack with. But they were here performing locally in Oakland Cemetery, where they call the criers. And this is the whole African tradition of doing this type of performance to keep the legacy alive. But let's move on. So you notice they're picking different logos, like instead of picking cotton, I had them suggesting that they're picking, or basically toiling, putting in work to continue building industries, continue beyond slavery. You got brands like Coca-Cola, Facebook, which are more recent brands, Amazon, multi-billion dollar company. And the idea is to suggest that, again, labor or all this wealth is being generated on the backs of people who aren't even really benefiting from it. And some of the other imagery, I've got Bitcoin to again suggest that this is something from the past that's been happening, but it's also something that's very present, very real, that's continuing to happen. A little bit of architecture, design, drawings in the background to kind of get the idea of building a nation, building things up, just like every construction. But yeah, and one more thing, I noticed a lot of flashing and a lot of colors and all that. That's to try to that's to get at the idea of this piece being hard to actually even watch, and you feeling almost slightly oppressed by the piece yourself as well. To again get back to the idea of human capital and how that affects all this. Okay, last piece over here. You can't really. It's a little bit easier to read when it's darker, but I can still talk through it. Long story short, I want to make a piece that archived the Atlanta race riots. Like I said, I'm from Atlanta. Atlanta's home for me. This country, for me, this city's history. Something I do think about quite a bit. And the race riots are one of those things that I kind of get the sense that most people don't even realize happened and why that affects things even today. So I wanted to definitely tackle that. So what you guys are seeing, this is kind of closer to the end of the piece, if you will, but it all moves. So it all works together. But you're just seeing kind of the chaos of people running for their lives, building burning. I wanted to do something that was kind of site-specific to where we are right now, like with the fire door over there, the fire alarm, something that dealt with fire as well. Me and one of the other artists were joking about trying to figure out how we can use that, so that's part of why I did that. But a lot of found footage in this piece, and all that means is I just, as a collage artist, wherever you can find media, whether it's print or whatever your medium is, it's just an assemblage of all that stuff. So this one is heavy on that. lynching photos. There were definitely lynchings that happened during the Atlanta race riots. Just something that I feel like kind of gets shied away from. This shadowy figure here, like literally kicking you in the face to try to force you to confront, like, this is what really happened. We're in a location where the riot took place. And, what does that really mean? Are you seeing that for yourself? Are you seeing a different reality? Like, what are you seeing when you look out into the streets of Atlanta? And this is just kind of like an alternative, but still, important and accurate depiction of that. So this is more so the beginning of the piece. This is kind of everything started. The race riots themselves started because there were two rich political media moguls who were putting out through the media, through their newspapers, that black men were going around raping white women, and there was really no truth to that, but they were just gassing that story up. They were hyping it up, and then it just got to a point where somebody, a white woman said it to whoever, and it just kind of exploded into this giant race riot. And that's kind of what kicked everything off. And I mean, it's not all that far-fetched from things that still happen today. If you guys are really into social media, you've seen there are people going viral for calling the police on black people for cooking out, or for walking to the bus, or just like all these other crazy things. And it turns into this whole firestorm. At times, the police officers are using excessive force with them. And I mean, we have several instances of police brutality where people are actually dying. So this piece, I just want to kind of collapse some of that history into one space. Things that were happening, back in the 1900s, 60s, like all the decades. Like, this is something that's been continuing to happen, and just calling attention to that and giving the visuals to kind of make it feel a little bit more real to you. It's a little bit different from reading on a sheet of paper. In 1906, violence erupted in Atlanta versus actually seeing people, fires, all those different things. I do want to point out one of my, it's kind of hard to see because it's not that bright, but the kind of purplish figure in the background you see with the loudspeaker, he's actually one of my friends who's an activist who was like literally murdered by the police, and he was doing tons of work in the community, with housing, cameras on cops, which ironically the police officer that killed him didn't have body camera on, allegedly. So these are, again, all these issues are things that are still happening today, and I just want to use my art to uplift these stories that are happening, call attention to it, and also push art forward, push the medium of what it means to be an artist, keep expanding on that. All my stuff is digital, and honestly, no disrespect to any other artists, but I feel like the time that we're living in, these are digital times, so most of the art should be pushing more towards that. And that's it. That's me. This is my art. So if you want to listen to any of those, again, feel free. These two, like I said, the music syncs up with when the flashes happen, which is a direction I'll keep pushing in, which is something I kind of discovered recently. So we got that, and we have the original composition over there if you want to check that out. For the music for that. That's all I got.
Questions. If anyone has any questions for Kristen, feel free. Or you can tap him on the shoulder after the rest of our talks and speak to him individually. Alright, so we're going to break up the video photo and go over to Andrew's pieces.